So I recently posted a video of me box squatting on my Instagram, and I got a lot of messages asking me what the utility is, kind of asking me to justify the box squat compared to a free squat. I was pretty surprised on how many questions I got, so I figured I'd just make a YouTube video on it. So I don't do a ton of box squatting. It is lower on the squat variations that I like to program, but I will throw it in a training cycle every once in a while. You obviously can do them the Louis Simmons West Side way, where you have the box height to your normal squat depth height, maybe even slightly higher, with a really wide stance and sit far back onto the box, breaking up the eccentric concentric chain by sitting and rocking back slightly and keeping the shins vertical, doing a quasi leg curl to initiate the upward movement. And I think that's a totally fine way to box squat. I usually like to box squat to a depth that is as deep as my normal squat depth. I typically like to use it as a disadvantaged squat variation, meaning the way that I box squat, I'm going to end up using lighter weights. The example I posted on my Instagram is not that. I was just at a friend's place and working in with him. That's why the box was higher and I was going heavier than normal. Like I said, I like to use it as a disadvantaged lift for me. And it's a secondary squat for me, so therefore the frequency is going to be a lot lower than a back squat or a front squat or even a pin squat for me too. So it is meant to be done with lighter weights than a back squat at matching workloads and relative intensities. So if I'm squatting twice per week, it usually isn't going to be considered my heavy squat exposure. Just because it isn't my heavy squat exposure, that doesn't mean it's supposed to be easy. What makes the box squat a disadvantageous lift is breaking up the eccentric concentric chain, eliminating the stretch reflex. And even if you rock back and rock forward, which I usually do, that initial drive upward requires a ton of effort. And I know according to research, to eliminate all elastic energy, it takes approximately 4 seconds, but I think a 2-second pause on the squat is enough for practical purposes. And so because of this, you have to take up muscle slack quickly. And what I do like about the box squat is if you are using it as an overload movement, meaning your depth is going to be higher than normal, it at least provides a consistent depth for you. Anderson squats also do this, but the difference is that when you box squat, you can use that rock back and rock forward to overload the movement a little bit more than an Anderson squat. If you want to do them with a fast eccentric, you can. Here's an example of Zach Conganis doing it that way. You can't do that with an Anderson squat because you can't bounce the bar off the pins. One concern with the box squats is even though the depth might be consistent, the rock back and rock forward and the momentum of the rock forward might not be. I want to quickly address the claim that box squats are superior than free squats for assisting in sprint acceleration and jumping performance. If this is the case, it's negligible at best because it really won't matter if you're already doing sprinting, jumping, and plyos in your training. But my charitable take on this is that if the box squat is superior, it's not because of the static dynamic attribute of the exercise, not because you're taking up muscle slack quickly. It's because of a similar angle to the double knee bend in the Olympic lifts. The box squat involves a shin drop, a forward and downward translation of the shin. You'll see track and field coaches mention this when coaching up their jumpers all the time. When you're doing a free squat, there is no translation forward of the knee or the center of mass involving the shin drop. This somewhat mimics the action of jumping from an approach in the first couple of steps in a sprint. The box squat overloads this action, placing a potent stimulus on the tissues engaging in a movement pattern very similar to those movements. There's definitely more that can be discussed about it, and if you have specific questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Maybe I can address them in a training session video in the future. But that's all I got for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.